Since everyone is speaking their own language, boa noite, povo de Deus. This is how we say, good evening, people of God. So you can say boa noite, povo de Deus. I'm honored to be here with you today speaking about church planting and reaching the next generation. I once heard a phrase that said, people love what other people are passionate about. That got to me. When we speak about next gen, about church planting, about sharing and living the gospel, how passionate are we? How passionate are we? I want to share a story with you about my beautiful young daughter, Elena. My daughter is 5 years old, and I've never seen a girl that smart. Sometimes I think she's 15, but anyway. We were on our way to church on a Sunday, and out of nowhere she asks me, Dad, when am I going to see Jesus? At first, I was sad, because I'm her father, and she should be able to see Jesus in me. But I told her, honey, we can see Jesus everywhere. We can see him right now because he lives in our heart. We can see him in the creation. We can see him in his word. And she interrupts me and said, no. When am I actually going to see him? Like the person, like I'm seeing you right now. And I tried to explain to her that we were going to meet Jesus when this time on earth passes. When this time passes for us, when we go to where grandma is right now, I was trying to be careful with my words because she's a 5-year-old, never dealt with death. And she looked at me and said, are you trying to say when we die? So I was talking to her about an amazing time, what an amazing time we would have with him. Like, we were going to run with him, we were going to go to the beach with him, we were going to play with him, to sing with him. And I was trying to put on words how joyful it would be to be with Jesus for a 5-year-old. And she was having an amazing time picturing it, figuring it like, wow, she was saying, I want to run with him, Dad. I want to play with him. I want to go to the beach with him. I want to play in the sand with him. Then she stops. She stops, silence in the car. She looks at me with that passionate and profound eyes and shoots. Dad, I want to die. What I'm trying to say here is, how passionate are we about living the gospel so that the next generation will love and live the gospel as we do? When I was Elena's age, my mother asked me a question. She said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Words flied out of my mouth as she told me. I answered, I want to be a father and a pastor. Because I saw how passionate my father was, and still is, about the gospel and the church. So let me tell you a little bit about what I believe and what we believe as far as next gen and church planting, where I am at now in Brazil. 29 years ago in Recife, the parish of the Holy Spirit was born. My father, the Archbishop Gabriel Uchôa, obeyed God's call and planted a seed. But hear me, this story is not mainly about how we started. This is about how God took a seed and turned it into a flame, how he multiplied it into churches, how he entrusted it to the next generation. We were never called to simply build a congregation. From the very beginning, we were called to ignite a movement. And we asked ourselves, why plant churches? Because every street, every neighborhood, every city cries out for the gospel. Because families are broken, children are searching, and the hungry are waiting for you. One parish alone could never carry the burden of a city like Recife, because the harvest is too great. I want you to try to imagine through my words the heart of Recife at that time, a city full of life, beauty, great beaches, but also full of challenges, broken families, poverty, violence, and spiritual hunger. And one might ask, what could one church do in the midst of all that? The answer was simple but profound. We could be a family. In a city marked by division, we could be unity. In a place where many felt alone, we could be belonging. In a society where people were searching for meaning, we could be the ones who embodied the gospel in the everyday life. We understood this truth. Church planting is not about buildings. It is about people. It is about bringing the gospel close to where life happens, close to where tears are shed, close to where hope is needed. And if the church in Acts multiplied from Jerusalem to Judea and to the ends of the earth, how could we not multiply from our neighborhood to all of Recife? And from Recife to Pernambuco, our state, from Pernambuco to Brazil and beyond. Our strategy has always been simple. You start small, you disciple deeply, and you release boldly. We use cells, small groups, families of faith meeting in homes, but they were never meant to be comfortable little gatherings. They were meant to be seeds of mission. Week after week, around kitchen tables and living rooms, people opened scriptures, shared meals, prayed for each other, and met Jesus. And when those groups grew strong enough, when leaders were raised up, when mission overflowed, we released them. A living room became a chapel became a parish, and a parish became a new church that was born. And this is how multiplication became our heartbeat. This is how addition turned into exponential growth. Today, by the grace of God, we can say 16 churches have been planted, and one of those became the cathedral of a new diocese. All starting from the parish of the Holy Spirit, where I now serve as an assistant pastor, and all of the list that Jenny just said, which became also the cathedral of the Anglican Church in Brazil. 16 flames, each burning with the same gospel. 16 families of faith, each declaring a family to belong. I have seen parishes born out of broken homes where restoration became a testimony. I have seen new churches rise on the outskirts of our city where poverty tried to crush hope, but Christ lifted people up. I have seen churches planted in neighborhoods where nobody believed anything could come from that place, anything good. And today, worship fills the air. 16 churches, 16 lighthouses, 16 miracles of grace. But I want to be honest with you. Planting churches is not easy, and I know you know that. It is costly. It demands sacrifice. It meant sending out leaders we loved, families we cherished, brothers and sisters we don't want to let go of. It meant financial strain. It meant risk. Sometimes it meant tears. But brothers and sisters, the joy of hearing worship rise from a place where silence once reigned, the joy of baptizing new believers who would never enter our cathedral, but opened their homes to Christ, the joy of seeing children in a new parish lift their voice to God for the first time. The joy is why we keep planting. The joy is why we cannot stop, because the kingdom is worth of every tear, every risk, and every sacrifice. And if planting churches is our method, reaching the next generation is our holy mission. Because what good would it be to plant 16 churches if our children are lost? What good would it be to multiply structures if the next generation does not carry the fire? We decided long ago, children, teenagers, young adults, they're not a side ministry. They're not entertained while adults do church. They are the church. They are the mission. They are the future. And the gospel we received, we must pass on with fire, not ashes. So we open wide the doors of belonging. Every child, every teenager, every young adult must know, this is their family. This is my home. We give them responsibility. We release them into leadership. We let them pray, preach, lead worship, plant cell groups, because calling begins young. And we truly believe that the Holy Spirit does not wait until someone is 30 to anoint them. So we take them to camps, to mission trips, to nights of prayer. We let them see miracles with their own eyes. And again, I've seen God whisper to them, you are mine. I have called you. And this is not theory. This is happening in Recife. The next generation is already rising. But I want to give you stories. I want to give you names. Darlan, a young man, a friend of mine that grew up restless, chasing meaning, found Christ at a happening movement. And today he's preparing to become a reverend at our church. Alice, a girl once too shy to speak, discovered her voice in a cell group. And today, she's discipling other young men and women in preparing for ministry. Carlos and Renata, two young teenagers at the time, had their lives restored in a small group, are now married, pastors, leading a new parish. Adriana, a widow that found her in her cell not loneliness, but a family who carried her burdens and prayed her through the death of her husband during COVID. These are the real fruits. These are living testimonies. So when I say we planted 16 churches, I am not speaking of numbers. I am speaking of thousands of lives changed. I am speaking of hundreds of families that were restored, countless of futures that were rewritten. Every tear, every smile, every baptism, every child's laugh, it all gives faces to this movement of God. Our vision is not only to plant churches today, but to plant churches that will plant more churches tomorrow. We're not only multiplying geographically, but we are also multiplying generationally. Every time we start a new parish, we must ask, where are the children here? Who are the teenagers here? Who are the leaders that are rising in this place? Who will plant the next wave of Anglican churches? Because this we learned from our Archbishop, that the church that invests in its next generation will never die. But the church that ignores it will never survive. So we refuse to hand over ashes to our children. We will hand over the fire. And so the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit is not simply a church in Recife. It is a movement of multiplication. It is a story of reaching children, teenagers, families, cities. We are a family to belong, as we like to say. We are a people who multiply. We are a church that refuses to stand still. As long as there are streets without a witness, as long as there are homes without a prayer, as long as there are young hearts without hope, we will keep planting, we will keep discipling, and we will keep sending. Our story is not a chapter closed in our past. It is a story still being written by the Spirit of God through ordinary people for the sake of His kingdom. And I stand here with you, my brothers, my sisters, sharing this with the Anglican family from all around the world. And I want you to hear this. This is not just our story. This can be your story. Church planting is not a Brazilian invention. Reaching the next generation is not a Brazilian strategy. This is the heartbeat of the gospel. This is the pattern of Acts. This is the commandment of Jesus. Go and make disciples of all nations. Wherever Anglicans gather, in America, in Africa, in Asia, Europe, South America, I know the Spirit is speaking the same word. Plant, multiply, reach the young, and release the next generation. If we do this, the Anglican Church will never decline. It will burn with new fire. It will rise with fresh power, and it will be forever a family on mission. My brothers and sisters, here's the summary of our story. We were a small flame, and the Holy Spirit breathed on it. We planted, we discipled, we dreamed, and God multiplied. Today, we're not only a parish, we're a family on a mission. 16 churches testify to His grace. Countless stories bear witness to His power, and an entire new generation is carrying the torch. One thing I'm sure, this is not the end. It is just the beginning. I want to finish this time with you with a short video of our last conference, where we gathered people from all of our churches celebrating 29 years of faithfully preaching the gospel under the leadership of our Archbishop and Primate, Gabriel Uchôa, who's also the bishop of our diocese, and also the cathedral rector, and carries what I believe to be his most challenging role. He's my father. I want you to see this video.
Senhor Jesus, muito obrigado, Deus, pelo novo momento que a gente vai começar a viver aqui nessa igreja a partir desse time de adoração, Senhor. Nós continuamos aqui, Senhor, como sacrifícios vivos no Teu altar, para entregar o que o Senhor quiser. A nossa vida é Tua e nós queremos alcançar todas as pessoas para Jesus.
Ajuda a olhar para frente e a sonhar, e a trazer os teus projetos em realidade. Que vidas sejam entregues aqui, que pessoas sejam reconsagradas aqui, reconciliadas contigo. O poder da adoração alcance todos nós, Senhor. Em nome de Jesus.
God bless you, and God bless our future.